Hello, we're live. Let's start this thing, man. Yeah, I'm trying to keep myself alive because, like I said, like at the end of the day, you know, it's like after dealing with work and then helping with the kids going to sleep, I'm pretty fried right now. But that's my normal, you know. So it's not gonna be different from the other days. So yesterday, after I closed our session, I kind of like did some more work, as you can tell, and I did some painting on the face, just using a little bit of Polypaint. So let me just share my screen here with you guys. Let's see, share it. Right here, let me just move this whole menu to the other side like I did yesterday. Okay, so yesterday after I closed everything, I spent another hour to an hour and a half poking around with the model, and I got some color in it. So I don't have, like, I'm not super happy with the proportions from the profile, but from the front it's starting to get a little bit better. At this point here, I could go on with the likeness and just keep going with it, you know, so I can torture you guys some more. But it's going to be a little bit more of the same, you know, it's just doing little tweaks here and there. So I think at this point, since it has an okay form, we can maybe like start like reprojecting things and working on the actual base mesh. So what I'm going to do with this, first, before I dig into the topology part of things, most of you guys already do topology and all this stuff, but some of you in the audience don't know exactly how to start that. So I'm going to go very quickly over how I approach topology. And then, but before I do that, I'm going to do a little bit of a little demonstration with the way I painted this stuff yesterday, you know. So for the eyes here, of course, like Polypaint, you guys are probably all familiar with it. When you turn on this little brush in here in the subtools, what it does, it basically like it turns on your Polypaint, right? And then to Polypaint, normally what I do, if it's just for a concept like that, I go to my standard brush, and I turn off the alpha in here. And I always do it. Everything is very like, I don't use like any strong colors. It's just like everything is by layers. So I'm gonna turn off my add, and I'm gonna turn on RGB, and I'm gonna basically like hide everything but his face. And then you just, like, you know, with the intensity very low, like 1 or 2, you can just like pick any color. So I started with a color I thought he looked more like his lips, like that. And then, of course, like just, you know, like you can do this kind of stuff. You can add a little color here very softly around his cheeks. You know, just like with very broad brushes like that. There's no mystery, so I'm not going to dig too much into this. We're going to talk about like texturing and everything. But it's just because I promised not to skip anything that you guys are not seeing how I'm doing. And I kind of like went ahead and I did some Polypaint, so that there's no mystery. It's just like adding a little color, you know. It's like, it's very much for concept purposes here, so there's nothing fancy to see. In terms of the proportions, I changed a couple of things yesterday. For example, like if I remove the hair in here, I kind of like changed a little bit of proportion of his head, like the skull. So I removed a little bit of the volume from the sides. It looks like it's a little bit too deep still, but it's hard to tell because I don't have a picture of the guy without the hair, so I don't know exactly how much his skull is gonna be protruding that direction. But again, it's in a good state that we can actually start projecting things and then take the model to the next level. And about the eyes, what I did here, actually, if you're not familiar with, so let's just isolate the eyes here, and let's keep the head. So I did like a very quick and dirt paint over in here. You can do like a much better job than I did. This was a really like a 2-minute kind of thing. So I'm gonna just duplicate it here. Just gonna you know, repeat what I did with it. So in ZBrush, you can normally, if you are trying to reset your shaders, what you're gonna do first, you're gonna pick the flat color here in the material. So pick the flat color, You see everything is flat, but the eyes still have some reflection because I actually baked some material in there. So I'm gonna reset it again. And to do that, I'm gonna turn on the, either if you wanna paint just the material, you're just gonna click material here. If it's just a color RGB, or if it's both, it's mRGB. So I'm gonna do material and color at the same time. And then I'm gonna pick like any color here. For example, like if it's a neutral, let's just click here and then grab this slightly grayish, white grayish kind of thing. So, and now I'm gonna bake the flat color, the material, and the color at the same time. So I'm gonna go to color, and I'm just gonna fill the object, right? So fill object, and now it's completely flat. And the cool thing about making things filled with the flat color is that now if I change to any material, it follows, right? Like you're gonna assimilate any material. The flat material actually resets everything for you. So now if I go back to my normal material, that's what I had in there. So to paint the irises, what I did, like just again, like just for some of you who don't know, so I'm gonna go to standard and I'm gonna pick this alpha 14 here. That's pretty flat. And then by default, you see I have a fell off. It's like you see this red circle. There's a smaller circle in the middle. So that's a little fell off in there. So if I pick a color here and I try to do any paint, oh, I'm still in eyes here. So you're gonna see that there's a fall off. Let's see, right there, right? But the better way to see is basically like if I switch from stroke to drag rectangle, and I try to do this. Let's see, it's the intensity. I'm gonna crank all the way to 100 here. So you see like there is a fall off here. So if I wanna remove that, you're gonna right click or use your spacebar to access the menu. In the focal shift, you're gonna bring all the way to -100. And then you can actually drag a circle like that. It's a perfect circle, right? So I used symmetry, and then I did something like this, right? So that was the first step. And then with that in mind, I make a little bit, I think a little bit bigger actually, something like that. And then I went and I picked a color a little bit lighter than that, like that. They made another circle right in the middle. This is a concept, right? Like nothing too precise. Something like that. And then I blended things. So if I go to my smooth brush and I switch to RGB with a certain intensity here. So I just like blurred a little bit of those two colors together like that. Have a little bit of that edge. And then I came with the black and I created another one right in the middle for the pupil. Oops, intensity at 100. So pupil, something like that. And then with the, I picked the same color again, and then I turn a little bit more on the orange side here. And then I can simply switch from drag rectangle back to dots and no alpha. And now I can turn off symmetry, and I can do two things. The first is gonna be like just paint a little area right here on the side, like that. And another area right here on the side, like that. So basically like the way that the light scatters when it hits the eyeball and the iris, basically like if the light comes from one side, you're gonna get the caustic effect on the other side, right? So if you do like any drawings or paintings, you're always gonna notice that. So you get a little bit more bright on that side because the light's is scattering from the top, the right top to that area. So, and now I'm gonna switch back to drag rectangle and switch back to that alpha and then white. And I can just add a little, you know, fake reflection in there. That's basically what I'm gonna have. I can also, of course, like blend this. So I'm gonna make the intensity a little bigger here, and then blend so it looks a little bit more painterly. Even further than that, like that, and like that. And then, of course, like I can bake that, like I said, like a fake little reflection in there, kind of like this. That's what I did. And then the final trick here is to just like add a little fake shadow at the top. So I'm just gonna switch back here to no alpha, and then switch to black, RGB intensity at 1. And I'm gonna go to the very top, turn on symmetry again. At the very top here, I'm gonna start painting like a fake shadow close to the eyelid. Right there, something like that. And I can even come up a little bit more towards the center here to add a little bit more depth to it. So something like that. But then let me just redo the little fake reflection here because I went over. So let's go back to white and then RGB at 100, no symmetry, that one, and then this one. But I also added a little bit more reflection by faking a material in here. And so what I did, there's a toy plastic material that works very well. So I want to bake toy plastic material because if I switch to toy plastic here, everything becomes toy plastic, right? You see the reflection is gonna run over everything. But I want to bake just the eyes. So since I have the eyes subtool selected, and I have RGB here, I'm going to switch from RGB to just material, and then 100% material, and then go to color, and then fill object. It doesn't seem like it did anything, but now if I switch to any other material, everything is going to change, but the eye is going to stay the same because now it's baked, right? So if I switch to my original material, now I have toy plastic in the eyes in there, so it's kind of a nice little reflection, right? So that's basically what I did for those eyes here. So I'm gonna delete this one. And that was just like a super quick and dirty little tutorial for eyes. So that's basically what I did. I just want to make sure that you guys are not missing any steps. So that's why I just repeated it. So now let's start like this process of projecting this whole thing. But before I do that, let's do a quick tutorial as well on topology. And so I'm gonna duplicate this head to another subtool first, and I'm gonna start working on it. So at this point, I'm gonna delete all my, let's see, delete my geometry, the subdivision levels. So I'm gonna delete the lower, right? So now it's all baked. And I can do that thing that I did before, which was to do the selection, to create like a, remember like I did like a polygroup and use that one to actually ZRemesher everything. So of course, I'm not gonna do the whole process here, but like I said the other day, if you wanna keep doing this, you can do with the same stuff like around the lips, you can paint a different area and then create the polygroups. It's all in that mini tutorial I used. So if you remember, it was basically like polygroups. If you have a selection made, you're just gonna say group select, group masked, right? And you're gonna create a new polygroup. So with at the end, you're gonna end up like with a polygroup for probably for the ears, another one around the mouth and lips, another one depending on how you're gonna plan the nose. You can change shapes and everything, but normally if you keep simple, you just circular like that, it does a better job. And then once you have that, you go to geometry, and you're gonna go to your ZRemesher. We did this before, but they're gonna do it again just to create like a low resolution mesh. You're gonna, instead of like the target polycount here being 10, I'm gonna try like maybe like 1 or maybe 2. So let's try with 1 first, and let's see what we get. It could be a little faster, but sometimes, like for better results, I do the ZRemesher twice. So I ask ZBrush to resolve the forms first, and then once that's resolved, I just run it again. And then sometimes it does a very nice cleanup if you do that. So let's see. So now it's like it's way too low poly, right? So that would not help us out. So 1 was too little. So let's try the poly count, maybe like maybe 3, not 2. Let's see how many polygons we get. Mm-hmm. And then this process here, I do just like I said the other day to try to get stuff for free, you know, instead of like retopologizing the entire mesh. Sometimes like, okay, the interior of the mouth, nobody's gonna see, it looks good the way ZRemesher, you know, resolved it. So we're just gonna use that. So right now we have this kind of topology. In terms of poly count, it looks pretty good. It's just that the forms are not quite there, right? But you see how beautiful, for example, like this entire area here of the cheeks were resolved, right? And then the forehead, all this stuff I don't need to do. I can just like use it for free. It's very important when you do ears to actually create the polygroups for ears, because the way that the ZRemesher resolves ears normally like is not ideal. Like I said, let's try to run ZRemesher again. Should be way faster now because the very low resolution. So we kind of like resolved a little bit better in certain areas, but the eyes look like crap now, right? But like I said, the whole intention here is to get stuff for free. So all these areas here, I'm not gonna worry about them, right? But you know what? I'm gonna go back to this one. I think I like it better. And let's start with this one. I'm gonna export it. And because when I did the ZRemesher, I ran it with the symmetry on, so all this stuff is completely symmetrical, right? So I'm gonna export this mesh. Let's get it to OBJ, and then head to topo 1. So head for topology 1, right? And just export that one. And I'm gonna switch to Maya because ZBrush has tools for you to recreate the topology right here, but I just hate them. I mean, like they work, but they are kind of buggy and they are not as intuitive as working with Maya anyway. So the scene is saved from yesterday. I'm just gonna start fresh here. So brand new scene, and I'm gonna import it. And this again is gonna be like a quick tutorial on topology. And then from there, you're just gonna go straight to what we are looking for. So we're gonna go to Stan Winston and OBJ. I'm gonna switch here to OBJ as well and grab the head to topo. Let's see what we get. So that's it. And now I'm gonna turn on my wireframe. And to make nicer, if you're not familiar with Maya, so if you go to render, you have viewport 2.0 by default. So you're gonna click that little option box. And then you're gonna scroll all the way to anti-alias, and then smooth wireframe and multi-sampling. And I'm gonna crank all the way to 16 here. So now it's much nicer. So it's like easier to see things. So at this point here, since everything is symmetrical, first thing I'm gonna try is to actually select everything kind of like a ring. So if I click an edge like this one here, this edge, if you go to, I have my shortcuts here. I have this one that's called selects all parallel edges. But for you guys, let's see if I remember. If you go to selecting here, and then you say, so components, I don't even remember. See, like I have my little thing here for so long that I don't even remember it. But like this one is contiguous edges, and you're gonna find somewhere grow. Let's see, grow. No, grow, shrink. Sure, don't even remember where it is, but it's there somewhere. Edit mesh. Let's see. Dang, it's been such a long time since I created my little menu in here. Well, I'm gonna find and tell you guys, but basically, like the menu, the little icon looks like this one. So I'm gonna click this one here, and it's gonna select a ring of edges like that. Goes all the way across. Sometimes ZRemesher resolves in a funny way, and then you don't get a perfect ring like that. Sometimes it kind of like ends up like blocking a certain area, creates a triangle right in the middle. But in this case here, you did a pretty good job. Got lucky. So once you have that link selected, that ring selected, I'm gonna just press Control and then F11. It basically is gonna convert edges to faces, right? So I'm gonna undo here. I'm gonna show the other modes. So for example, like if you press Control F9, you switch to vertices. Control F10, it's edges. Control F11, it's faces. Control F12, it should be. Well, it's not doing it, but it's supposed to be. I believe it's UVs. Oh, well, I guess not there. Like I said, like sometimes I get lost with Maya because they keep changing things that actually worked before from version to version. But yeah, so far here, what I'm looking for is just Control F11 just to select just this ring. And then once that's selected, I'm gonna just press delete. I'm gonna remove it. And now you can simply use this, let's see, edit mesh, and you can just say, let's see if it's here. Again, like I have my shortcuts that I'm trying to find in here for you. So mesh separate. So under mesh separate, in my case here, I have the little shortcut. That's gonna be right, where is it? It's slightly different from the one I have at work. Yeah, well, let's go back there because now I'm not finding anything. Edit mesh, and then where is it? Mesh separate. So mesh separate. So now it's kind of like it's baked into the history in there. So to avoid problems, I'm gonna just delete history. Every time I do something, I'm gonna delete history. So select both. You're gonna delete history. Again, to delete history, you have to go to edit and then delete by type in history, right? But I have my shortcut in there. And now I can delete this piece, and then I have just my half side. And then my approach to topology in Maya is to use this menu here, which is the modeling toolkit you access with a little button in there. And this is very powerful, actually. They stole a lot of stuff from 3D Max, I believe. And then the way it works is basically like you have this multi-cut. That's how you cut your stuff, right? So for example, like if you're replanning your topology and you want to make sure, for example, like this edge goes all the way down here as a straight thing, you just like draw it, like drag and then press enter. And then you have that edge cut that way for you now. And then you can start like doing things, for example, collapsing this one, you know, and then recutting things and changing direction. So if I want to remove this edge here now, and just remove completely, and then now it's a little bit cleaner, the topology. And then I mean, like I would recommend you guys, if you're not familiar with the way this works, is to actually look for tutorials on modeling toolkit for Maya, because that would take me some time to just go over this, you know, and we really don't have too much time like for the basic stuff. We're gonna go more like towards the portrait stuff, right, that we are here for. So that's basically how I cut it. But now let's pretend you want to do everything from scratch. So of course, like after I'm completely done with this, I have to duplicate the mesh and then flip it and then reattach the vertices in the middle and everything. There is a mode here in Maya that you can actually sculpt everything in symmetry. So you can use that one as well, the mirror function. But again, like everything you should be able to find in a mini tutorial on modeling Maya. But let me do an example here of how I approach when I do the topology from scratch, if I don't want to reuse anything. Or in this case here, for example, if I saw an area like this that's completely screwed up and I don't like at all, what I can do, I can actually select that entire area I don't like. And it's so weird that I have this. Maya is acting a little funny. It has this little cursor and there is not going away, actually. Let me just restart my Maya very quickly here. Because sometimes like just trying to resolve things, like there are so many functions in Maya that to me sometimes like just rebooting it, like reset, it's faster than me trying to track down what's wrong with it. So for example, like in that case, I can actually select an area that I don't like, that has like that the ZRemesher could not resolve very well. And I can simply delete the whole thing and keep everything else. And then on top of that, I can actually use the high resolution mesh. So one thing I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna back to ZBrush. I'm gonna go back to the original subtool. And instead of exporting the super high res, I don't need the super high res, but 375,000 be fine. I'm gonna export it, head to topo, and then I'm gonna call it mid-res. Export that one. And then here, import. And back to OBJ. So head to retopo mid resolution. So here, if I want to start something from scratch, I'm going to use the same function, the same modeling toolkit in Maya. But the difference is that first I'm going to do this. I'm going to click this one here, this little pile. That's the layers, right? So I have the layers here for Maya. And then I'm gonna click this guy, select it, and I'm gonna click this last icon in here. When I do that, it creates a layer for me, and that's the visibility. So I can turn on and off at all times, or I can keep it as a reference, for example, or a template. So if it's a reference, I cannot do anything. If I try to select it, it doesn't select anything. And if it's a template, same, you cannot select it. So in this case here, now I have a control in there. So basically I can hide it anytime. So I'm gonna click on it again. Oh, without reference, so turn it off. Click on it again. And then there's this icon in here that looks like a magnet, right? So make this the selected object live. So that last magnet in there, I'm gonna click on it. So now it's live, I cannot select it anymore, right? But then for the model toolkit, instead of using the multi-cut I was using before, I'm gonna start using the quad draw. So the way the quad draw works is very, very cool actually. Like I said, like it's, I think it comes from 3D Max. But let's say I wanna start planning my topology here. I can simply like start clicking like this. You're gonna see those little dots, right? And then I can start like very broad. For example, if I wanna go all the way from here to here, you know, and then put like maybe an in-between like that. And then let's say, it all depends on how you're gonna plan your topology. But if I wanted, for example, like to start this going down like that, if you wanna move stuff, you can just click the dots and just move them around at any time. So you can just keep doing this, you know, it's like it goes super fast to just plan. And I recommend to go like very broad. I'm making like too small, those polygons, but I would go even broader than that, you know, it's like just to make sure you do super fast. Now, when you press shift, you're gonna see this kind of square appearing in there. So as soon as you click right in the middle, you're gonna start seeing those polygons being built, right? So it's very fast, you know, it's like once you, and then of course, everything you can keep tweaking. And you see the symmetry is on right there at the top. So everything is built in symmetry now. So that's the way I would approach, you know, it's like if I'm doing something that's completely custom. And then, of course, if I have something I brought from that mesh from ZBrush that has a lot of areas I can use, for example, the forehead, like I said, then I can combine meshes. You know, I can just group the two of them and just like generate a single mesh. So for around the eyes, I would just do the same thing. I would start with something very simple like this, and try to create like a, you know, like a very simple kind of array right there. Then maybe like here. Of course, I can tweak things at all times, right? So I'm gonna try to keep this one a little further. Then there. Actually, here's getting a little bit too broad. So let's keep the everything in the close to the eyelid. So let's keep like, let's do it better here. Let's keep the eyelids as the reference. So I'm gonna do that. Bring this one down. And I'm doing very roughly here. Of course, if you're doing on your side, you're gonna be more careful with that. So that should be kind of like a rough representation of it, just as an example here. I'm gonna add one more in here, just in case. And then the same deal, you're gonna press shift, and then you're gonna see this little square. And then of course, if you press shift and you keep holding shift and you just draw like that, then things go very fast, but sometimes it gets a little lost, like the last one got a little lost. So you have to find the center of it. You see like it changes. You have to keep pressing shift. So, oh, and as soon as you click, it makes the polygon. So I'm gonna go that one, this one, this one. And then, like I said, it's super fast, you know? You just like create the topology very fast like that. And then at any time, you can just cut things. If you wanna add more resolution, what you can do, you can actually create more resolution on the fly by pressing Control. And then when you press Control, you see this line here. And then I can simply like click it again, right? And now all of a sudden you had more topology added in there. Same thing here, you know, it's like, but I would recommend not doing this until you have like a very kind of like rough kind of representation of it. And everything is being snapped to the surface. So at this point here, you know, it's like everything is snapped. I need to re-snap it. So that's, you know, it's like a quick tutorial how I normally approach those things. And then of course, if I have the mesh coming from ZBrush, I would just like go back here, import that mesh, delete half of it, and then see what I can reattach. And then to reattach is basically like a matter of like creating the more quad cores, quad draws, you know. So first you're gonna merge the two objects together, and then you're gonna start like, you know, it's like using quad core again, quad draw again, or simply like a append polygon. So go to edit here, mesh. Let's see. I swear, man, they keep changing things. So we have the connected create polygon, and they have the append polygon. So the append polygon, it's the same deal. For example, it's very similar to the quad draw. So I can just click, for example, this edge right there, and click this one here, and all of a sudden it's going to connect it, right? So if you have different meshes, you can start doing that. But you know, let's go back to what matters here, which is our reprojection. So let's pretend you did this whole process. You did a little tutorial in there on how to learn how to do the topology, or you use some plugin to help you with the topology to do some kind of like a, you know, it's like a little bit more automatic. It doesn't matter how you create your topology, but it's important that it has a good edge flow, you know. If it's just for still, it doesn't need to be perfect edge flow. But if it's for animation, definitely you have to have a very nice edge flow that, you know, it's like the edges have to follow the structure of the muscles so they can actually expand that direction, right? But in this case here, what I have at this point, I have this sculpture, which is basically just a sketch. It's that topology I created here on the fly with you guys. That's just like a ZRemesher topology, right? So let's pretend you have your own topology now. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click this Polymesh 3D, the little star in here, just to prevent from, you know, it's like overwriting anything when I import it. So I'm gonna click Polymesh 3D, and I'm gonna do import. And let's look for a topology here that actually works. Since all my models, like this portraits, are based on the same topology, I can just pick one here randomly. But I'm gonna get the, let's say the Michelangelo one should be a good candidate. And under OBJ, I should have a low resolution one. So let's say this one here is the latest. Is it by date? Let's see if it's the latest or not. Yeah, looks like it's the latest. So this low resolution one. So this is the mesh like in low resolution. Even came with Polypaint for some reason. I didn't know it baked like that, but it's cool. Looks a little funny. But anyway, so this is like, let's pretend this is a base mesh that you guys liked. I'm not happy with this one particularly because I think the Hellboy one, I did a much better job resolving things. You see like I have some weirdness going on in the neck. But I have this, you know, it's like a lot of texture already done in this model. So that's why like I'm gonna try to save some time by using it. So let's pretend I'm completely happy with the topology I just created. So this is gonna be imported now. Let me just delete this glasses, we don't need it. It's already in the other model. So I'm gonna import that base mesh into this subtools in here. So I'm gonna go to append, and then I'm gonna select that guy that I just imported, right? And the scale is gonna be slightly different because I realized all my models are a little bit bigger. That's why I noticed that I was actually using a bigger scale for my subsurface that I needed. But now during the class, we're gonna fix all of that. So I'm gonna go down here, and I'm gonna try to actually scale to match this guy here closely, not like perfect, but we're gonna be manipulating this whole thing. So let's do like a turn off perspective, and I'm gonna go to the scale and right here, right, scale, and then make sure I'm in the center of the object. And to reset it, you're gonna press Alt and then click this little home. Right, seems like it's already reset. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then what I can do actually, I can move closer to the eyes. So I'm gonna press Alt just to unlock it. And I'm gonna click this little arrow here, and I'm gonna pull it up, the green arrow, just to have around the eyes, and then release Alt. I'm gonna even do this Alt again with the blue, just to bring closer to the eyes. And use the eyes as a reference. It's like, it's easier to match things using that. So I'm gonna move it back, closer to the eye, and I'm gonna just reduce it. So close enough to that. I think starting with the eyes is always a good idea, you know, because it's the trickiest part to project things. And then at this point here, we have those two faces kind of like overlapping each other, but not perfect, of course. So what's the intention with this? The intention is if I project all those forms into this new base mesh that I have, in case you already have like some HD geometry sculpted in the highest resolution of this guy, that's basically the case here for me. You can actually just project everything using this base mesh, export this base mesh with all the projection, now with the new topology, and then bring it to replace the base mesh of your HD model. And basically, all of a sudden, everything's going to be there for you. So if you had detail sculpted already, it's going to be there. So I'm going to go through this process, going to try to do some projection in here to see, to show how I approach it. And so it's going to be very rough match first. So basically, like I'm going to just switch the color here so it's not completely white. Maybe like I can do like a green so I can see what I'm doing. And like I said, like the eyelids would be the first thing you're going to try to tackle. And then, of course, let's make sure that this model is symmetrical first. So let's go to deformation right here. And then you're going to do Smart ReSymmetry, right? So I'm going to click that one. So now it looks like it's symmetrical. There's a little bug in there. Let me just turn off this one. Let's see if it's symmetric enough. Oh, you know what? Sometimes that happens when it's not like local. Where is it? The transformation here is local S pivot. So if I click this one here, where? Which one is that? I have that one selected. Okay. Where is it? So this is the local symmetry. I thought it was like, is it local symmetry? There is one that actually resets it for you. And then the symmetry starts working again because at this point here is not working. So let's see, let's just like use that one I mentioned. Let's see if that one works. If I click the set pivot point, let's click that one first. And let's see if the symmetry works for that. If it works, then we are fine. So Smart ReSymmetry. Yeah, in that case, dang it. Symmetry got a little screwed with this model for some reason. And I remember having this problem before, and it was resolved with that button. So let's see. Control, edit, redo. Well, let's deal with this a little later. Let's solve this symmetry a little later. I'm going to start with one side of the face and then see what we can resolve. But it's very weird that I had this. Let's see. I had this working before with the S pivot and center pivot. Oh, you see, like when I click the center pivot, it went to a different place in there. That means there's something screwed up. Yeah, it's kind of like trying to chase the center of the object. It's not finding it. Yeah, it's something related to those guys. S pivot, center pivot, local symmetry on, visible symmetry center. Don't remember. Well, let me try to solve this later. So let's start some projection in here first. Let's do start with eye. So we're gonna very roughly here, we're gonna click Alt and then pull things towards the normals, right? So we're gonna pull this area here. Oh man, I have the RGB turned on here. Okay, so let's turn off the color again, and then I'm gonna pull it back. And every time I want to pull something towards me, I just press Alt, and then I drag it a little bit, and then it kind of pulls towards me. So I'm going to bring here, and I'm going to have to solve this entire area. Let's see what I have when I turn off solo. It's kind of deep in there, so I'm going to have to actually bring this one forward a little bit. From the inside, sometimes it's easier to do that. So let's concentrate just in the eye area. So just gonna do those rectangle. Let's do that. Let's see how much we can pull. Let's do the same with this guy here. So little area in there. Just keep, you know, focus on this area. Switch back to the other model, and then turn on this one. Oh, it's actually solo. Okay. And then we're gonna try to chase that little fold. So let's turn on my visibility, display properties at the very end here, and then double. So now I can see what's going on in there. And then here's my fold. And you know what? I think what I should do here before I start this is to actually subdivide once, just so I can get a little bit more of a resolution. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to see what I'm doing there with the super low res. So now it has one more subdivision level. And we're going to try to chase this from the inside. Same deal with the Alt to actually pull away from me. Same idea as pulling towards me. And then I'm going to bring this one back. That fold is going to be very hard to actually match like one-to-one. So we're going to be very careful with the way we're masking it. We can get everything we can, and then what we can't, we can just like carefully sculpt. So we're going to just bring back here. So like I said, this whole thing here is just if you have a model already, like a nice topology that you want to keep reusing, like I am doing here, like reusing the topology. So if I do very strongly, it's pretty close to the surface right there. So I don't even need like to worry too much about this bottom part in here, because I'm going to be masking it out probably. I just need to worry about the outside. Just going to bring it down. That. And now let's try to get a little bit more of this area here to match. Just going to bring down, 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 down. Always using Alt. Let's see what time that is, 10, 11. Okay, and then now I'm getting closer here to this area. I'm gonna bring everything closer. Maybe I can just mask this area here. So using that same technique I showed you the other day. And then invert it, and then bring this down. Some of you guys mentioned that there is a plugin that does this entire thing for you. So, you know, if you guys want to use it, I am not against. This is a little painful, just like around eyes, I would say is the most painful part. For the rest of the face, it goes pretty fast. But we're going to do like very carefully here. So it should be close enough, but it doesn't need to be exact, you know. So let's do this as well. Bring it here. Our area, smooth it out, because all the detail are going to capture from underneath. And then let's do some work on the bottom lid. Let's just get this area a little closer too. See from inside what's going on there. There's a little bit of artifact in here, so let's just do that and bring it down. Basically, like every time I reuse and I start a new model, those portraits I'm doing, that's basically the process I do. I create a little, instead of like starting from a base mesh like this time, just to save time, I normally start from a sphere or something, and I was like, and once I have the sketch in a good spot, I just go and transfer all that stuff to the base mesh I already have. And then basically I make a transplant of the skin. So I reuse a lot of the skin. And then a lot of the skin is very custom from character to character. And then of course I'm gonna do all the work to customize it. So let's do the bottom lid here. Let's isolate the top again. That I'm just gonna go to the bottom. And again, I'm more concerned about the exterior here. I'm not too concerned about like matching one-to-one all the way to the inside in here, because that stuff, if it's working, I don't need to worry too much. You know, it's like if it's close enough to the eyeball. But this area here, like starting from this edge, I want to make sure that this edge is pretty close to the other model, because that's what you're going to be masking in, not masking out. So right there, and then this guy I can pull down a little bit like that. That should be kind of a good enough. Let's see if I can get that. And then let's go to some other area here. So I'm gonna try to do the projection just in one side, and you can just ignore the left side here and just concentrate on the right side. That's the one I'm gonna be matching. Because at the end of the day, it's a symmetrical model that we wanna get anyway. So I'm not caring too much about this one here. The symmetry I'm gonna resolve later, even if I have to use Maya for that. So let's do that. And now let's unhide it. So the eye should be in place now. Let's go to subtool. I'm gonna unhide everything here. This guy. So let's go back here and let's try to do some work around the nose. Oops, that's not the subtool I was looking for. Is it? Yeah, it is. What's on here now? Like, it looks like I have two different. Oh, select the wrong one. Okay. All right. So now let's go to the nose. So for the nose, should be faster. Again, like same way I did with the eyelids. I'm not going to be too concerned with the inside parts. So for the nose, as long as I get the nostrils in place, I'm not too worried about getting everything perfect. You know, in this model here might be a little tricky with the inside of the mouth, because this is the first one I'm doing with the open mouth. So it's gonna be, it might be a little tricky, but I think we can get it to work. So I'm gonna select here again, like with Alt, just like very quickly, just build those forms. It doesn't need to be like a one-to-one, because the projection is gonna resolve that for us. But it's nice if you can do like in a somehow carefully way, if you have like all this detail already in another model, because the one is stretch things too much. You want to make sure you can reuse things, right? So you pull things like with very broad brushes. Okay, so like that, and then here. So at this point here, I can start like selectively doing some projections just to test things out. So I can just do, for example, let's see, let's resolve the nose a little bit better here in this area first. Here and back, I'm gonna bring the nostril in. Something like that. And then the inside, at this point, I'm not too concerned, but I wanna make sure that the shape of the nostril is fairly close. And now we can start like very selectively. For example, if I wanna test just this area here first, which doesn't have a lot of folds or anything, just this area, and the nose around here, and eye bags, something like that. Let's see, oops. So I just masked it. I'm gonna do a little bit of forehead as well. Let's see how much we can get projected. So Control, click outside, and I have just that area. And then let's see, like a quick and dirty projecting here. Let's see what we get. So you see that I can see already those areas are too far to be projected correctly, but everything else here actually snapped to place fairly well. So you have a couple of options here. The first one, you can see that those areas need to be much closer to the surface in order to work. Or you can tweak the distance in here. It's by default is 0.02 for the ProjectAll. You can actually increase to 0.05 or 0.1 altogether, and then it should snap closer. You know, it's like you should not cause those artifacts. But then when you get to areas of folds, then you better like go back to the default. Otherwise, you might start getting like some very easy spikes. You know, it's like because it's gonna try to shoot too far to find the next surface to project to. So I think like the best way is to actually go and get the whole thing a little bit closer to the surface. Like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect, but like close enough. So if you get even like dirty like that, you know, it's like something that's just like reveals the bottom part, it's already gonna work much better. So let's do the entire forehead here. Pull it up. Has to be close enough, but not perfect. And let's move this ear up as well. For the ear, if you have an ear in your base mesh that you actually plan that looks nice, you don't even need to project it, you know, because at this point we don't have any detail anyway. It's just like it's kind of in there. Projecting ears is always tricky because you have to go to every single fold and then project. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I just like, you know what, the ear is good enough the way it is, and I just like resculpt it. As long as you have a nice ear in your base mesh, of course. If you have something that's really crappy, then it's a lot of work to just try to project it. But I'm gonna get like close enough in terms of size. This area is gonna very thinner. I'm gonna have to thicken up a little bit again, and just to have like a reference like that. And now I'm gonna go back here. And I'm gonna pull this whole area out. Yeah, it's way far, way different. Now smooth it out. Smooth, and see how close we can get. When you start peeking through, that's a good thing. It's close enough. And it's smooth all the way till it peeks through. It's okay. And then here, same thing, the back of the head. And then again, like this, similarly to the inside of the nostrils and the eyes, I don't need to worry too much about the bottom part here. So I'm gonna just pull, oops, I switched the model. So let's get back to this one. Not that one, man. I'm always selecting the wrong one. This guy here. And what happened with this guy? There you go. I'm trying to go fast here. I'm just like messing things up. Anyway, so let's go back here and pull this entire area back. I want to make sure I get this volume of the back here baked. And then again, like the bottom, I'm not worried about it. The bottom we're gonna mask out anyway. And the front, let's go back here. Something like that, oops. Back here, and then here. And the mouth is gonna be the trickiest part. So at this point, we're gonna try to resolve just, let's see where the fold is. So we're gonna try to match that fold close enough. Something like that. So let's see what we can get projected now. So we're gonna smooth it out, that, and the neck. Smooth. So let's start with the top part here. Let's see, forehead, get a little bit closer to the surface. Still pretty far. Now it's better. Yeah, such different volumes in relation to those two different characters. Okay, let's do a little masking here. Let's try it like that. Let's start with this area again. Nose, just the easy parts, right? Like not the tricky stuff. I'm gonna start with this areas that we know is gonna project fairly well. So we're gonna get the cheeks. Let's try this area here as well. Although his mouth is going to be picking over there, so I'm going to have to resolve that first. And then I'm going to, build this entire area here. Let's see if I can get a little bit of the eyebrows as well. Trying to project just the safe stuff first. Let's do that. No ears. Yep, like that. And here, probably like, this is not a good area to project right now because we still have to resolve the open mouth thing. The chin is all the way down there. So we're just gonna keep around here for now. So let's see how much of this area can get projected first. So let's do a project all here. See what works and what doesn't. So this point here, for the area I selected, the only part that's actually not working is the back of the head. And I try to get it. I just undo it to get a little closer to it. And let's try again. So those areas that are still tricky here, I can do it now selectively. Oh, I think I selected, let's see, if the inside, if I did the mask correctly, like maybe I didn't mask like the inside of the eyes, then that's gonna cause trouble as well. Let's see if I did. No, looks like it's correct. Seems like, let's see. Just get this guy here, turn off. Yeah, it seems like I have the mask in there. Another thing I forgot to mention is that, for example, like if you plan this mesh with the UDIMs, so for example, like before you brought it here to ZBrush, you actually did the UDIMs and you have everything planned. In this case here, if you remember, I have like 5 UDIMs for the entire thing, right? And they're represented here. So in ZBrush, the polygroups, they can recognize the UDIMs. So if you have polygroups, and by default, let's just say you have like group visible. So that's just one polygroup. By default, it would come like that. But if you have your UDIMs already done in Maya, or even in ZBrush, right? Like if you move stuff around, you can click auto groups with UVs, or just auto groups, right? So if you do auto groups, or UV groups actually. So UV groups is gonna just break based on the UVs. But if you do auto groups with UVs, the difference is that if you have like different areas, for example, like little islands inside of your UDIM, for example, like you have the nose separate from the eyes, blah, blah, blah. This one here is gonna break everything up. So for example, like you see like the eyes here, we have a different polygroup. So if I click just UV group, it's gonna bring just the UV. So it's not gonna separate the eyes because it's just considering the UDIM itself. And all of those guys are separate inside of the UDIM. So instead of UV, you're gonna use auto groups with UVs, and now it's gonna recognize every little piece inside of the UDIM, right? So the advantage of having that is that you can hide stuff. For example, if you don't wanna reproject this area here, I can hide it all together, right? If I don't wanna be at risk of projecting, for example, the inside of the eyes, I can actually hide them. If you plan it well, you know, it's like in your topology, to have those things separate in your UDIM. So it's kind of nice to just like be able to just hide things like that, you know, like very fast. So at this point, let's go back to our projection thing. Turn it on, and go back to my guy here. And then let's try to project again. So I'm getting a fairly good amount in there. Like I said, like I'm not worrying too much about the left side in here. I'm more worried about this one. That's the one I want to resymmetry later on. And then this other areas here, you see like I'm projecting the color included, right? I can turn off the color in that subtool if I don't want to project it. But in this case here, it's not going to matter. So very soon I'm going to be opening the mic for you guys, and I'm going to keep working, but you can ask me questions. So so I have this area here pretty much projected at this point. So we're gonna go to the most delicate area, which is gonna be the, you know, this area here, right? The eyes. So I'm gonna do something here, which is just bring this closer to the other surface. Slightly, let's see. And let's try just by selecting this area. all the way to the eyelid, but not the edge of it, just like around here. Let's see how much of that I can get projected without a problem. Let's try ProjectAll. And then let's use a solo here. So it got fairly well. So this area here I can do a little cleanup just for the border, or I can actually adjust a little bit more, you know, like just to make sure that it's close enough. This one got screwed up right there. So I better actually isolate it first and then do more carefully. So let's do the border a little bit closer. So this entire border has to come back a little bit like that. Yeah, it was actually pretty far. I thought it was closer, but the border was pretty far. Yeah, you guys like who mentioned the plugin. Oh man, if I might have to use this plugin in the future, because this is a little bit of a torture. That's the part that I don't like of the process. So that might save me some time doing that. But let me open the mic for you guys right now. Okay. We have a full house today, like 16 participants. That's pretty cool. So let's unmute all of you guys. And then again, as we did before, if you're not talking, you just mute yourself. And then when you want to talk, you can just unmute. And yeah, you guys are free to ask any questions. I'm gonna keep.
Chris.
Yo, yes.
I have a basic question.
Yeah.
Again, the eyes.
Yeah, it's
I always get wrong in the measure of the eyes. I don't know if I measure the spheres or the entire shape. How can I say that?
Oh, the audio is pretty bad. The audio is pretty bad. Yeah.
It's my audio.
Yeah, yeah. It was a little stuttering, and then has this echo. It's kind of weird, but it's fine now.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can I say palpebra in English?
Oh, the eyelid. Yeah.
Oh, the eyelid. Yeah. When I measure the eyes, I have to measure the eyelid too, or just the sphere?
Oh, when you measure the eye, like for proportion purposes, like you're trying to get the right proportion for the size of the eyeball.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, you're gonna measure just the eyeball itself. I mean, like I don't have the measurement here, but we can look very quickly. I can bring it here, and I can, for example, if we do like average size for eyeball, or a human eyeball, something like it for human eyeball. So it's gonna bring up like the first result in here, right? So eyeball size might vary from 21 millimeters to 27. So this is like the, let's see, blah, blah, blah. Let's see the diameter. Yeah, so 22 to 24, that's like 2.4 centimeters, right? And then let's see, 24 millimeters wide. So this is an average, right? Like it's between 21 and 27. So if you consider like, let's say 25, that's like 2.5 centimeters. That's, yeah, it's not that big, right? And then, so that's like, let's see, like the average size of human eye iris. So the range it goes like from 10 to 13 millimeters, right? So like from 1 centimeter to 1.3 centimeters. So it's basically like almost like half of that, right? So you're gonna have the proportion is gonna be, you're gonna have the eyeball right there, and then you're gonna have half of the diameter, right? Is gonna be the iris, and then you're gonna have the two halves on the side. So that's basically the proportion in there. And then in relation to the whole head, I'm using inches right now, which is like 8.5 inches to centimeters or millimeters. Let's say millimeters. So 8.5. That's like 21 centimeters or 21.5 centimeters. That's the height of the head. And then in relation to that, it's almost like 1/10 of that, a little bit more than 1/10 of that is the eyeball, which is like 2.5, right? We're talking about. And then, yeah, so like those proportions you have, when you're building those things, those elements, that's the average is gonna be looking for, right? But of course, like from person to person is gonna be different. But yeah, you would just measure the eyeball itself. If you look at the real eyeball, it's not like a perfect, sphere. But I use normally a perfect sphere because it's easier for me to just like control if I'm doing different poses. And yeah, so that's basically it.
One time ago, I saw that compared to the head, it has 9 eyes.
9 eyes, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like what I said, like roughly, it's a little bit more than 10, right? The 1/10 of it. So that should be close to that, probably like 1/9 of it. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, but I mean, like, again, like humans, you're gonna find like so many variations, right? Like there's all kinds of weird proportions that we find. We always go for the Greek proportion because that's what we have internalized. But if you start looking for real people, you're gonna find all kinds of very weird proportions, right? Like people like with especially like birth defects and whatever. So yeah, the ideal of beauty, it's pretty cool, but there is beauty in the different stuff too. It's like I like the weird stuff. I'm gonna try that. You see, like this is the part that's kind of like a little bit of a pain in the butt. That's to get the projection fairly good, and then once you have that, it's basically eyes and mouth that's going to be the biggest problem here in this model, especially the mouth, I think. And then once you have that, to resolve the rest of the stuff like cheeks and muzzle and things like that, it's going to be super fast. Let's see what I have actually for the inside of the mouth here. If I start opening, I think the best way is going to be to just lock the top of it, and then I start opening the mouth and see how far we are. Yeah, it's gonna be tricky to get that. Let's try with some transparency here. So with the transparency, you can see how far we are. I'm gonna bring this entire area back, and I'm gonna use the topology brush instead. I'm gonna try to open this. Yeah, it's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to select just the bottom part. I'm gonna go here, select this area. I'm gonna open it, see how much we can get. So roughly it's gonna be around here, and I'm gonna have to fix the corners. And again, like I'm doing very roughly here, probably like I should be more careful the way I'm pulling, because the more I'm careless about this process, if I have like all that HD geometry already sculpted and I want to reuse it, if I'm not too careful, I'm gonna get a lot of stretching, right? But at this point, I kind of like don't care, because the whole intention with the class is to teach you how to sculpt the detail anyway. So the more work I have to do there, the better, because I want to make sure that I'm explaining how I'm sculpting the detail. So I don't mind like recovering all that detail by sculpting again. So I have the mouth open now, so I can start like moving things around. Let's use a very big brush here and just pull this entire area. And just turn off the ghost and transparency and just keep solo. And I'm gonna pull this ugly area up. And then at all times, of course, like you can just smooth things out, just to things back to place. And this is like an important step to just do now, because that basically like everything from this point on, like is dependent of this step, right? Like all the pore detail are going to be sculpting. I want to make sure that I can reuse some of the stuff I have in there, so I don't need to do everything. And also showing that you know, this process here is not like it's not something very fun to do. You know, it's kind of like similar to what UVs are, right? Like if you're, although like with the new Maya tools for UVs, I kind of love it, you know. It's like I like doing UVs in Maya. It's super fun. It's like it got like so much better with the unfold stuff, and it's interactive as well. We can actually unfold with a brush, which is really nice. So this entire area here. Funny that he has his gums in there now. It's pretty cool. So like the gums are going to remove completely. And I have my polygroups I can use, of course, like to help me to, you know, filter some of those areas I don't want to project anyway. But I'm going to turn them on later. Just going to keep working on those broad areas first. The jowls and... Okay, smooth it out. So this entire area here should be pretty close to what I need to project. Smooth again. There, yeah, that's a good area to start projecting, actually, the neck. You get a lot of stuff done in there. What?
So would you say that,
hello?
yeah, would you say that we would be getting into HD geometry tomorrow or Monday, maybe?
Monday, yeah, I would say so.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, like, we have to get over the boring parts first to get to the fun stuff. And then it's kind of, everything is kind of dependent. And like I said, like my promise to actually not hide any part of the process. So that's why I'm doing like this, to show that not everything is fun. So it's like a little bit of reality for you guys. Like there's a lot of like very boring parts. I mean, like when my professional work I do at ILM, one of my favorite things to do is when they need someone to help with the concept art. So for example, like if they have something coming up or some test that they have to do, and they need a modeler to actually help the art department to come up with a 3D version of the concept art. I love that part of the work, because it's completely like I don't need to think about the technicalities of anything, right? Because at this point, I mean, like after doing this stuff for so long, it's been like what, like 12 years working at ILM. Kind of like, you know, it's like building an asset all the way to the final thing for production. And there's a lot of technical stuff involved, right? Like everything has to be perfect and prepared for the pipeline. And if you are an artist and you want, your brain is like at like, you know, 100 miles per hour, like mine is like all the time, I want to be creating stuff. It gets like to that spot that, you know, it's like you're not quite enjoying the process. And that comes with like after many years of working in this, you know. So my favorite part at this point is just the fun of sculpting. And it can be like all the detail, I don't mind. But the technical part is like, it's still like something I have to do, but it's not my favorite. If I had a monkey right now here in the office to help me doing the topology and reprojection and things like that, the boring parts, I would love to have that monkey, you know.
Would you suggest that we have all our UDIMs and our topology done before we get in HD, I guess?
I would say so, yeah. You guys have like from now to Monday. I mean, like if you don't want to start from scratch topology, then of course, like you can just start with the ZRemesher if you want to do that. But I believe most of you guys in the class, you already work professionally and have some stuff going on that you can actually reuse. You show me some stuff as well, right? Like you have a couple of models that you want to start from.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just wondering how quickly I need to get that the UDIM set up.
Yeah. What I can do, I can actually show a little bit of my approach for UVs in Maya if you want to do that. Or if you have some other techniques, you know, like to do that, if you're free. But you know, it's like for the other people in the class, I can go through the UV process as well. It's pretty fun, you know. It's like, it used to be a complete torture, but I don't think it's the worst part nowadays.
Well, actually, this might be crazy, but could I email you the UDIM setup that I'm working on? And
Oh yeah, sure.
maybe you can look at it and tell me if it's crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. So you want me to open here during the class, or?
Yeah, sure. If you're down.
Okay, yeah. You want to email now?
Yes, I'll email it to you right now.
Okay, I can go through that. So we can use that as an example. And then let me just go back here. See, like there's a lot of trash now that I caused because I wasn't very careful, but let's just try to resolve that. Let's pull up. You're gonna have to go inside of the mouth in there to resolve all that stuff. But I was aware that the mouth would be a big problem because with open mouth. But it's actually a good thing because from now on I can use this model, the smiley model, if I'm going to go through any other smiley model. So like I said, like it's always cool to have like a lot of stuff, like different models as part of your library for, you know, creating different stuff. It's not like you can do that with clay, right? Like reuse things all the time. Unless you use like clay pour. Some people use clay pour. They just make a cast and then they pour like a liquid clay into it. And then they can start from that point every time, which is pretty cool. I had an idea actually to get some of my models and do like a clay pour, you know, in some of the, like create some molds and then start like doing like a traditional sculptures from ZBrush models. That would be really cool.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
I have one doubt about HD sculpting. I've been talking with Paloma and she's asking me if you could use morph targets with... Yes? Yes?
Morph targets for what? For this? For what
no,
part?
I mean when you use HD geometry, I know that layers are not usable, but my doubt is if you can use morph still using
Yes.
morph.
Yes, you can. Yeah, morph targets you can totally use.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And it's actually very recommended, right? Like if you have different poses, for example, you can have like an open mouth and a closed mouth, and you can save those ones and you can just re-import them and then replace the morph target at all times. Yeah. And it's totally usable and it's very well recommended as well.
It's great because we are using it. For us, it's quite hard to keep moving forward when we are doing a likeness because you feel like you are improving the likeness and sometimes you feel like you have to spend like 3 hours and you look at it and it looks worse than before.
Yes, definitely.
So what we do is use a morph target and try to save the areas that you feel that are better at least and delete the others. So if we start with XD geometry, we would like it. We would like to know it was usable, you know? Yeah,
and I'm glad I'm hearing this from you guys because you both are so good, you know, and you have young minds, and you're doing this kind of like in the morning for you guys now, right?
Yeah, really early in the morning. We are not using the camera because Paloma goes in ReSym mode if I put the camera. She's laughing, but she almost killed me like 5 minutes ago because we look like shit at this time. You know?
No, it's totally cool, man. Because with a fresh mind, right? Like it's easier to get the likeness. Like if you're doing this stuff in the morning, it's kind of like it's easier, you know. But at the end of the day, man, like I do normally, every time I do like likeness is at the end of the day after a full day of work, and then kids and all this stuff and all the driving kids to school and. It is painful, you know. It's like because I have to chase sometimes like for many days. But I mean, like it's part of the process, right? Like you see like some professional guys doing like amazing portraits with wax, like some amazing wax modelers, and you see some of the starting points from them, and sometimes it's not that great, you know. But of course, like those guys who work for Madame Tussauds and things like that, they are very methodical, right? They use like all kinds of measurements and and they have the person, sometimes the actor coming to their studios and posing for them. And so those guys are methodical, but I've seen some guys doing likeness that the start is not great, and then you start seeing improvement later on. And it's a constant chase, right? And the thing is, like, we have to stop being so purist, I guess, because I am pretty purist when it comes to a lot of stuff. It's kind of like it comes from a place of pride, I guess, that I trying to improve stuff and do stuff realistic without the cheating, which is not cheating, right? But if you look at the way those guys do stuff, for example, like they are using a caliper at all times, right? Like they're measuring things constantly. They're checking proportions and everything. Basically, like they are using a blueprint, right? So they have a print of the picture of the person in the background, and they are checking the silhouette at all times. And I'm here, like, in this chase that's impossible to kind of like, just eyeballing everything. But like I said, it's part of me training my eye, so it's kind of like an exercise. But at the end, I'm definitely going to check this against a reference just to see if things are close enough, and then adjust it. But I mean, like, this entire class is about an artist doing his own thing, and then anything you guys can take from that, for example, like, and use in a smarter way, I'm not against at all. It's like, so if you want to use anything that makes your work better, totally fine. It's just like those little hints of things that any artist has, actually. If I take a class with you guys, I'm going to learn so much, If I take a class with any of you guys in the audience, it's like you're going to learn a lot, because we all different people, and we understand things a different way. We see things in a very different way. An example is like, for example, when I was working with Transformers, my supervisor, he was actually telling me, it's like to model certain pieces in a certain way. For example, like he was seeing like concave, and I was seeing like convex, And then I was like, I could swear, like, looking at the concept art, like, this is a convex part. It's not a concave part. And then I mean, like, how can you discuss? He's your supervisor, So like, you just have to do what the person is saying. But it's just an example of like how differently we see things, You were basically like discussing with a guy with like, I don't know, like 20-something years of experience, and you're just a newbie and discussing with the guy,
For me, the most amazing part of your process is that it's always moving forward. It's like I always see your likeness, and it's like you are not making mistakes. It's getting closer to the subject, and for me, that's the hardest part, because I feel like I can get close to the likeness quite soon, but after that, that gap between getting it really real good is, for me, it's really, really hard,
Yeah, but man, I feel your pain. I mean, like, I'm kind of like in the same boat, It's like, that's the thing, like, I'm trying, it's like to get the likeness as fast as possible for the class and everything. But sometimes I get in trouble, It's like this one here, I'm kind of lucky because it kind of looks okay. And I'm probably going to be progressing with it in a hopefully in a more smooth way. But sometimes I get in big trouble, especially the least reference you have, the more trouble you get into. So like the first thing is to collect like as much reference as possible, And then, but if you really get in trouble, you just ask Palomita and she can do it for you.
I'm in bigger trouble.
Oh man, I'm just creating trouble these days. Don't listen to me.
She actually a subject really, really hard. I told her that she's crazy, but you will see.
No, man, you're both like really good. I really like the stuff you're doing, man. Like the renders you're doing, they're very nice. I think like your sense of photography, it's like to do the renders, like a studio lighting and everything is already really good. And anything you can get from the class to help you out with that, especially I think like you guys gonna get a kick of the eye setup, for example, lighting and things like that. And I think it's gonna really help you guys, it's like the skin, things like that. But other than that, it's almost like I said before, there's a lot that I have to learn with you guys, so.
No, for me, the most interesting part is what you're doing right now, not the projection. I must tell you that I'm watching you suffer a lot.
Yeah, totally. Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
that's the thing, you know, it's like people only see the beautiful parts, right? And that's the thing that I try to I do this to try to encourage people who don't have a lot of experience. There's a lot of very like aspiring art is what we call like aspiring artists, right?
yeah.
People trying to get into the industry and everything, and they are kind of like they are intimidated by all the amazing art they see. For example, they go to Instagram, it's like so many like amazing artists, and some of those guys, they refuse to show mistakes. They never show their progress. For example, you only see like the work when it's basically done. And that's very intimidating, because in the minds of those kids, they kind of like, man, these people don't make any mistakes, you know, and everything seems like it goes so smooth. So that's why I normally, like, for many years now, when I post stuff online, I post the progress, and I make a bunch of notes, you know, so my own notes, like I am my own supervisor, and I'm terrible. I'm a terrible tyrant. And then I just like basically take my own work apart, you know. It was like, man, like I need to do this, I need to do that, so people know that I'm still in progress, still struggling with stuff, you know. It's like, and eventually things gonna get into place, but it might take a week, it might take a month, you know. So yeah.
I'm happy that you guys mentioned specifically, Carlos, about the whole portrait thing. So I'm currently working on 2 different races. Like, I've done portraiture before, but lightly, and it's more like a hyper-realistic character for like a video game or whatever. But right now, for the class, I decided to, for whatever effing reason, to do like an old Asian man, and the facial structure is so different that I'm like,
oh man,
it's so weird. And I feel what you say about the whole waking up early and taking care of the kid. You know, I am on your boat. As a matter of fact, right now I'm working. I got a new job, and I'm moving in the next month to Raleigh. Right now I'm in Seattle. So I'm working remotely as a supervisor, and I have to wake up at 6 in the morning to start giving feedback. So I wake up and I'm like, coffee, just chug it. Just like talking to people. So yesterday it was like 9, and this whole week has been just like insane, because I'm like doing a lot of work on the side and whatever in the class. So last night I was just like, I was about to die. I was like, I'm just gonna go sleep. I'm not gonna even. So I was putting my kids to sleep. Both of them fell asleep, and as I'm about to fall asleep, my wife comes in and wakes me up. She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "Oh no, you woke me up." So then I like got up, walked around. I went to my computer. I was like, "I'm gonna make sure like everything's saved and there's nothing in there. I'm just gonna click here." Here. Damn it! It's 3 in the morning.
Oh yeah, man. I swear, like sometimes like I just think about like, okay, I'm freaking fried right now, and I don't want to do anything, but I have to, because that keeps my sanity, you know. If I don't touch the work, man, I feel guilty the next day. So normally, like, that's why I have so many projects going on at the same time, because I can just like pick one part that's not going to annoy me too much. So if I'm completely fried and I have a model that I just need to do, for example, like a groom for a mustache or something, that's very simple to do. I just going to do that, you know. It's like, and I'm going to feel like I accomplished something that night without like stressing, for example, like modeling a part that's completely complicated, you know. So yeah, picking your battles, man, for sure. I mean, like we joke about this here in our house, that there is no person in the world that's more busy than a kid right before bed.
Yeah, and they go crazy. I don't know what it is. Like,
dude,
the adrenaline just hits, and they just start like jumping up. Like, my kid like literally goes to bed and then jumps into it, and then starts like crawling around. And I'm like, just stay still. Kicks off the sheets. And
same thing, man. I mean, like, but Daddy, I just need to get the toys downstairs. Like, no, you don't. You actually don't have to do that.
I'm thirsty. I need some water.
But yeah, dude, they are so busy. They are all over the place, you know. It's crazy. And you youngsters out there, if you don't have kids yet, you wait, okay? Just wait a little bit.
Your productivity is just gonna go like straight down.
Oh yeah, because I mean, like, it changes your life. It's amazing. It's amazing. Like, you finally discover what the unconditional love is, right? Like, because basically, like, you're gonna punish those kids, not punish physically, but you're gonna tell them, you know, you're gonna put them in timeout for bad behavior and stuff like that. And you're gonna think like, man, if I did something to an adult, right? Of course, you're not gonna put some adult in timeout, but I mean, like, if you're harsh with an adult, sometimes the person gets pissed off at you. It doesn't look at you in the face for a couple of days. But if you do this to your kid, you know, within a few minutes, they're hugging and kissing you. They don't care. They already forgive you for that, you know. They realize that they're wrong, and it's like, it's very interesting, you know, it's like the way that they actually have this, this good heart, you know, it's like by default. But kids are also assholes by default.
Yeah.
So it's a balance, you know. But it's very interesting. Like there is a book. I used to do meditation back in the day, and there is a master. I don't remember what's his name, but his last name is Suzuki, and he was the guy actually responsible for bringing the Zen here to San Francisco back in the day. And he has a book that's called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. So that book, what he talks about is basically like this mind that as adults we forget we have, which is this mind that's super curious about everything, you know, and it's kind of like a sponge that's ready to absorb things and completely open-minded, right? And as adults, we have all those prejudices and everything. We have everything settled, and we are brainwashed in school, and it's like all kinds of stuff. I'm a conspiracy theorist, for example, and I consider myself a very open-minded person, in a sense that I can believe in something today, and if I realize it's bullshit the next day, I'm gonna totally switch, and I'm not married to that idea, you know. So it's kind of like this beginner's mind that's basically like I'm a kid, and I don't actually know how the world works, and I would say that the 99.99% of the people don't know how the engines of the power work in this world, for example. But we all pretend we do because we hear things in the news, and you know, it's like we read an article from someone completely biased, but we are not like thinking by ourselves, you know. So we're just like believing is a system of belief. Like politics to me is a system of belief, you know. You have to believe that things are gonna turn out in a certain way. But I kind of like I passed that part, you know. It's like, and I think they're all crooks independently of the party, and there's just like a mafia running our lives, you know. But yeah, so like I have an open mind, but I think that's important, you know. It's like for artists, especially if you're discussing with someone and the person is shutting you down, you know, because oh no, dude, that's impossible. That's not, you know. It's like as an artist, just sometimes I read articles like about conspiracies and stuff, and I take those things as a science fiction kind of article, you know. So I'm just like paying attention to the story and, you know, making my own mind about if that's possible or not, and then crossing information with stuff I read in the past, and like I realized that yeah, those guys did similar things in the past, so it's not impossible that they're doing it again. But you know, for people who are actually conditioned to just believe in anything that's in the news, you know, it's like people are just never gonna get out of this matrix. But like I said, I don't know much about anything, you know, just like an idiot. But I'm an open-minded idiot, which is good.
Yeah, I'm fighting not saying something. We're gonna.
No. Let's not get into conspiracy here, man.
Yeah, dude. This is becoming deeper state of mind already.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What he's talking about is that I have actually a private group. It's a secret group on Facebook that we have a bunch of people that we actually share conspiracies and things like that, you know, and people get a kick out of it. It gets very weird sometimes. Sometimes it's a little bit too much even for myself. But then, like I said, like being open-minded, it's actually understanding that, you know, it's like, why not? You know, you're just like, why not?
All right, forget this 3D
hard
stuff.
Not to fall into like, what do you call that? The oh man, the bubbles. I just lost the train of thought. Sorry. Oh my God, sorry. Whoever was saying something, go ahead.
Oh, so you sent the file? Do you want me to take a look?
Yeah. I would love to get your feedback. It's based on a video I watched Justin Holt do about texturing in Mari.
Uh-huh.
And I just wanted to know what you thought of it, or how it applies to HD geometry, or if you just thought it was like totally crappy UVs.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah, so I sent it to the email.
Okay, cool. Let me just save this file here before I lose it. So what's the name, man? Oh, okay. I'm old. I forget things. ZBrush, Stan Winston, then let's save that one. And I probably like, the process is going to be the same that I'm showing you guys. I'm going to try to finish this projection tonight. But I'm going to just, you know, do a little bit more of around the mouth so you can see how I'm approaching. But you see, like in relation to what I had before, that's already much closer to the Stan Winston face, just by doing those things of why we talk. So let's check my email here. Let's go back here so you guys don't see my shit.
Yeah, one thing that I was going to say, based on what Carlos was saying before. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, all the porn I have open? No, I don't have any porn here.
Man, yesterday, as I was saying, I worked until like 3 in the morning, and now I was like, oh, damn it, I need to go to sleep. So I went down, and then this morning I woke up and I looked at my file, and I was like, oh, this is poop. I fucking hate it.
Oh man, one thing that I like when people say it's like in the online, you know, like people come like, oh man, I'm not inspired. You know, it's like inspiration to me is bullshit, because it's all about like putting the work, and the way I get stuff done is basically like working when I'm not inspired at all. You know, it's like you just sit your butt and like, you know what, I have to get shit done. That's it. That's the mindset. You know, have to get shit done, and that's what I'm gonna do, and that's it.
Yeah, that part is hard. The whole trying and not being afraid of failure, because you know, we all are all the time. Just go for it.
So let's open his file here. So let's check the UVs so I can actually use as an example right here. So let's do it. Stan Winston. But you know, I got a couple of messages from you guys, like emails and private messages and stuff about the experience with the class so far, and I just want to say that I'm having a blast. You know, it's like I said, it's my first time like streaming anything ever, and I'm having a blast. It's just like nice having you guys around. You know, it's like it's kind of like a little family here, so that's pretty cool. So let's see, modeling editor, UV editor. Okay, so let's bring this one up. So he has now 12 UDIMs, right? So that's about 12 UDIMs. And they look pretty clean to me. What's your question about it? Oh, it seems like some of them here are disconnected, huh? So this one's here, seems like, you see like those lines, they're cut. So if I try, for example, like a easy way to check it is if I do like a UV and I select something here, like just one vertex. If I press Control and then click to UV shell, it's gonna select the entire thing, right? So that means that it's in a single piece. But if I click this one here and I do the same, it only selects this little polygon here. So that means this one is all disconnected. So let's say, let's just get the edges. Let's select edges, and then I'm gonna just unselect those ones, deselect those ones. Now that looks a little messed up, this area here, because if I try to sew things, so let's sew it, stitch together, sew, okay. So those ones actually connected fine, but then when you get to this area here, seems like it's actually coming from, it's selecting both this part and that part around there. So that means if I try to sew it, oh, for some reason it still worked, but I don't know, that's weird. It's actually selecting both. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's my symmetry thing. Let's see if I have my symmetry on, if that's affecting it. Let's turn off that and that and that. And now let's try to sew it. Sew it. Okay. So now it's all connected, right? So just make sure you have those pieces, this one, and this one here, all sew it together. Otherwise, you're gonna get in trouble. So I can do it like very quickly here. Select them, and I'm gonna deselect everything else other than those parts. Right there. And this one here, the last one. And this one. So now I can just click sew it. And now they're all sewed together. So yeah, that's what you want, you know. So you don't want to see any, you don't want to see any like white lines in the middle, just like the borders. So now they're sewed together. The way that you normally start the UDIMs. So I'm gonna create a copy here, just in case, like if you guys never created any UVs in Maya, it works like this. So I'm gonna duplicate this model, and I'm gonna hide your original model, or put like in a layer here. So it's a second layer. So this one here, so it's hidden. And this is my model now. So you saw that the UVs at this point you had, oh, where is it? Okay, right here. So the UVs right now, the layouts looks like that. But if I only start from scratch and I just brought this model, either from ZBrush, from ZRemesher version, or I just create this topology, normally the way I start, it was with a planar or with a cylindrical projection. So I go to UV here. You have to be under modeling in Maya. So modeling, UV. And then you're going to say, for example, cylindrical, right? So if I click that one and then just say like apply, now you're going to have a couple of controls here. And if you click this one, this little red line right here, and you keep sliding it, you see it closes. But actually, Maya doesn't need that. But just like if you want to make sure that you have a complete projection, that's the way it works. So at this point, you have the face right here, right? So this is the first step when I start doing my UVs. I have the face in there, and then I'm going to start looking for things I can cut to prevent like overlapping and things like that. So if I look for something like the lips right here, I'm going to just double click the lip right there. And so it created a loop for me, which was very nice that your topology is allowing me to do that. Sometimes the topology doesn't. So there's a loop in there. So I'm going to go back to my UVs here, and you're going to notice that right there. So the first thing you're going to do, I'm just going to cut it. So if I cut, now we have a white line in there. That means that it's detached. So the inside of the mouth is detached now. I can do similar things for nostrils, for example. The topology looks pretty nice. So I can do that for nostrils, something like that. I can, you know, I'm just selecting by double clicking, right? So double click. So I'm gonna double click this. And I'm not sure which one is that, but we are doing very quickly here, that one. And then the ears, I normally detach them as well. Sometimes it's hard to find the right, you know, edges, but this one should be fine. Let's see, if I double click, not this one, but let's see, let's find one here that works. One way to stop the selection is actually when you're doing contiguous edges like that. If you click with the shift, for example, then select one here, and then you go all the way to one that's the part of that line, and just double click, and it closes the loop for you. So I'm gonna do the same around here. So I'm gonna select this one that's a sure thing. This one too, double click, then click, 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 and then double click here. So now it's separate. If I go back to my UDIMs here, let's see, I can just press cut again, and now those are cut. So same way I did before, if I click UV, basically like to select this menu is just the right click of your mouse. So I'm gonna go to UV, and then you can select a bunch of vertices here. I'm gonna press shift and then select some more here. And then now, instead of just the right click, you're gonna press Control right click in your mouse. And then you have a different menu, and this one says to UV shell. So I click that one, and then I'm gonna move this around here, right? And now you can just do the magic that Maya can do with unfold, right? So you're gonna click to modify, and you're gonna go to unfold, and you're gonna see there are like two different algorithms here. The first one is unfold, and then there's the legacy, the old school Maya thing. By default, it pins everything else other than what you have selected. So I'm gonna just apply it. So I applied it, and now it's completely unfolded. So those are ready to be textured, for example, right? So this is just like a mini tutorial if you guys are doing Maya stuff like for the first time. So, but I'm gonna go back to Clint's original UVs and do some work with that. So, and then here, let's see inside of the mouth. I think it's easier if we can just go here and just select something from inside of the mouth. Right there. I'm gonna go back here. Oops, not that one. Should I close it? I think I closed it. Modeling UV editor. Where did I put it? Did I minimize it? I'm not sure where I put it. Where did the UV? Oh, where did UV go?
Well, one reason why the UVs looked the way they did was something that Justin Holt was interested in his video was to match textile density. And so I made certain cuts just to make sure that the textile density matched to the next one. So like the largest piece is the forehead. Yeah. And then everything else was kind of decided how big it was based on that. And I'm wondering, does that apply to your workflow? Does that apply to HD geometry? Is it just somebody was anal about something? Like
so his main pointer was like what, the scale or?
Yeah, so that way when every texture lines up to the next one, it has the same resolution. You don't get seams.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, like about the seams, like I said before, it's hard to get seams when you get like 32-bit maps exported with multi-map exporter, but the scale is important for sure. So, for example, like if I click, if I select UVs here, all of them, right? And let's see if we can find it here. If I go to the modify, and then if I go to first like unfold, I would run again just to make sure that things are completely unfolded, right? Like you don't have any. So now it resolved a little bit better. So now I'm gonna go back to modify, and if you go to the layout, there is one setting here that actually makes sure that everything has the ratios, right? And that's basically this one here. So if you go down, you're gonna see shell pre-transform settings, and then it has rotation, so you can just keep off if you don't want to rotate, or else Maya is gonna try to spin things around to accommodate everything in that space, right? But then if you click the preserve 3D ratios, that means it's gonna keep a world space, right? So if you do the layout for that, and you can actually distribute it as well. So like all those options, you have to actually try them. But if I apply now, at least you should get like proportion. So all of them are proportional. They are respecting the UV space now. So if you scaled all of them together now, you would get like everything completely consistent across the board. So if you apply a map like a checker board, for example, you should have like the same size for each one of the squares perfectly. So let's see, full square. Let's see if I do scale mode. There's this distributed shell centers. Which one is that one that I used before? It was like top half, top right. Let's see, bottom left, something like that. No. There is one that actually distributes everything. Let's see, tiles 1. Oh, which one is that, man? With U and V. Let's try, like, if I put 2 here, let's see what happens. Yeah. So now it's actually trying to spread out all the tiles. So there's a way here that you can actually create, like, for example, multiple in the layout. So in this case, here is more distributed now. Still not exactly in the square, but there is one of those settings that you can actually get into the squares as well, but you have to play with them. But yeah, this way, if you use this preserve 3D ratios here, that's going to guarantee that everything is proportional. So even if you did manually like that, and you made sure that each one of them like filled one of those squares for the UDIM, then it's a guarantee that actually is proportional. And that's what I do as well. You know, it's like, so in this case here, if you applied like, let's go to this. And let's say like Lambert, I'm just going to apply a color here, and I'm going to get the checker, and I can go crazy with it. So if I press 6 in here, it's going to show it. And then I can go crazy with the UV coordinates. Click this one, expand. And then I'm going to repeat it, let's say 12 times, like that. So you can see better. So you see, like, it's very consistent now. Other than the inside of the nose in there, for some reason. Let's see how the inside of the nose. Oh,
yeah,
this
it looks like the ears got a lot more resolution.
That's funny because like that was supposed to be the let's see, which one is that? This one here. Yeah, it was supposed to preserve the 3D ratios. Let's see if I can switch to the legacy one, and if this one can do a better job, let's say. So the pre-scale is going to be based on the world into region. Let's try that. So if I scale everything, let's see if it preserves the scale.
Yeah, it looks better.
Yeah. So yeah, this one looks like it's the correct one, but I'm pretty sure like even not the legacy, the new version has a way to preserve as well. But I noticed that sometimes, you know, it's like the legacy gives me like a faster result. So this one seems like it's preserving everything. So you can try that, you know, try the, And then once you have that done, then of course, like it's ready for you to paint. Like you're gonna have the same resolution across the board. For my Hellboy, I have like something similar like that. You know, it's like it's very, very consistent. But yeah, that's about it. Cool. Does it answer your question, or?
Yeah, I just wanted you to look over it and see what you thought of the information I was getting.
Oh no, the layout to me looks correct. It's more like what you said, you know, that Justin mentioned. If you can make everything consistent, that's definitely a plus, you know. You don't want to get like a ton of resolution just a year and then have nothing in some other area.
Absolutely.
And Justin is a good buddy of mine. Like I work with him, and he's a good fella.
Oh.
Brand new father.
Tell him I love his video.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, I have another question. We are talking in the chat about the tertiary and secondary details. Yosabu was talking about it. And my question is, you are going to project some of the details, or you are going to do it again all from scratch?
No, I actually going to try to use as much detail as possible in here. So at this point here, you saw that I have like my highest resolution mesh, this one here. Let's see how many polygons we have. We have 375, and then I subdivide once more. So I have like a 15, like 1.5 million polygons, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that I'm going to try to do, if I go to this mesh here, the one I just brought up, this guy here. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to subdivide. Oops. Do I have selection going on? Oh, I have hidden stuff. So I'm going to unhide everything first and then unselect. And then I'm going to subdivide. So this mesh here, I can go to a maximum of 1.1 million polygons because I'm trying to respect that little law that you never go over 2 million polygons in regular subdivision because before you go HD. So at this point, I have 1.1 million, and I can capture this is like what I have available. But this model has 1.5 million. So I'm definitely going to lose a little thing. But like I said, like this is a sketch model. That's not like I'm going to capture like fine detail, right? So I should capture like most of the stuff, and then I'm going to use as much as possible. And then what I can do after that is that I can export, instead of like exporting the base mesh and then replacing my HD geometry mesh with the base mesh, I can actually export this mesh at 1.1 million and replace the top level of the non-HD. And then when I switch to HD, I'm going to get just the pores, you know, and then some of the wrinkles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in my last personal work, the ogre that I was doing, I made an alpha that looks more or less like yours. For me, it's a pain in the ass to do the alphas in ZBrush like you did. And I did it in Photoshop.
Yes.
And I've tried to do it with a single pore, you know. And I almost suicide. So I did a version with like 10 or 12 pores.
Yes. The little array, yeah.
Yeah, and did it that way. But I don't know if I will be able to do it with the likeness because I have a huge overload of work in the studio. So is it okay to do it like with bigger alphas? At least with a huge amount of pore detail in each alpha.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't mind. Like if you want to use stuff, you know, it's like it's totally fine. In my experience, if I'm sculpting stuff by hand and I try to create a little array, right? You have a little array of pores in there. If I don't pay really close attention to the way I'm actually making the layout of those pores, so they have a certain distance between them and everything that look convincing. When I try to apply them, it's very rare that I get like a very organic result straight away. So I have a little array that I use like for pores in the forehead and things that are like least important parts, you know. But everything that's more hero, like especially I would say like the cheeks and then the muzzle and the chin, this whole area here and nose, of course, I would be very careful. That's why I kind of like place everything by hand because they have some kind of structure, you know. And then when you get like stretching, for example, in this facial expression here, you're going to get stretching from the mouth And then in this case here, once I have the pores in place, I'm gonna have to tweak them to look like they are actually stretching. And then I have another brush that I use for that I can show you guys how to create that actually helps to actually create that impression that they are kind of stretched, you know.
Okay.
But yeah. But
and how long that process takes you? Because it took me like a lot from the face of the ogre, and I was using a single pore just for the cheek area, you know, and it was a lot of work.
yeah. No, I would say like when I was working in the first one was Dick Smith. It probably like took me like, I would say one day was like a 5-hour afternoon work, just like doing that. But the thing is like, I don't know if I'm alone with this, but I get very distracted, you know, very easily. So if I have nice music playing, sometimes if I'm in the zone, I have the same music playing, for example, like one single song playing in loop, sometimes for 3 hours, dude. It's the same song playing for 3 hours. and I'm like, dude, this is driving me crazy, but I'm so in the zone, but I cannot stop. So like, it's a little torture, I guess. And then, and I get in the zone and I'm just like, keep it like flowing, you know, just go with that. And then the next day I did probably a couple of more hours. But totally, I would say like, maybe like, close to like 8 hours, maybe like 8 to 9 hours of work just doing the pores. And
but that's really fast. I mean, it's really, really fast.
Yeah, and then doing the symmetry, right? Like doing everything in symmetry. And yeah, that's about it. Because the only part I'm not going to do symmetrically is just the center, right? So I'm going to define a little band here in the center, but everything is going to be symmetrical. That's why I break symmetry only after I have the detail in place.
Yeah, I fucked that up because I already broke the symmetry in my likeness. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man. I usually do that because it drives me a little bit crazy when I don't match the likeness.
Yeah. No, but you know what you can do? What you can do right now, you can actually save a morph target, right?
Yeah, that's what Paloma just told me. Yeah.
Save a morph target and then resymmetry the whole thing, detail the HD, go back to the lowest resolution mesh, and then you just like restore it.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, we have another 5 minutes, and then you guys keep going, coming with the questions. I still have some time for you, and I mean, like after this, I'm gonna keep doing basically the same stuff. And tomorrow we don't have a class. Maybe I can take a break after this today because it's gonna take like probably close to 2 hours just to process the video anyway. And then I'm gonna try to finish today. If I can't, probably finish tomorrow. But for sure, I'm gonna have this completely reprojected by tomorrow night, and then for next week I can start showing stuff. The cool thing about the class is that everything is recorded, so you know it's like it doesn't matter if you guys are not following along. I mean, like you're gonna have access to it and can just rewind and then do it, you know. But the important part is actually I registered the entire process, so you guys have that available, you know.
Tomorrow we get to sleep.
Oh yeah, dude! Holy smokes, it's been brutal for me,
dude. It's super brutal over here because I'm like 2 hours ahead of you. So.
Oh yeah, dude. And what about those guys waking up at 4 in the morning?
Yeah.
Like Carlos told me that. I don't know how you guys are doing it.
Yeah, you guys are crazy. You guys are crazy, dude. And you know, it's like the most important part of the class to me is that, you know, it's like, is this instant feedback. So it's like, it's kind of like a little bit unheard of, I think, when you do with other schools, that you normally have like a scheduled session for feedbacks specifically, but you don't have an open mic, you know. It's like we have, let's say like we have 32 hours, but then 16 of those are open mic. So there's like a ton of feedback you can get constantly, you know. But I mean, like to me, it's being like the format so far, to me, it's working perfectly. I mean, I could not hope for better. I don't know about you, experience for you guys, but for me, it's been super nice, you know. It's like, it's not stressful because, like I said, like I'm among friends and I'm doing my own personal work, so you know, I'm not working for someone else. And it's great, you know. It's like the whole thing about like even like getting paid when you work with the school, you know. It's like sometimes it takes time to get paid, and if you're doing by yourself, I mean, like I see the PayPal come in, I was like, okay, cool, now I can just move that person to the group, and then I kept control of everything, and that's being super nice, you know.
So I have a modeling question for you.
Yeah.
I actually rewatched the first session when you were starting to block out the character, and it seems like you were working on structural pieces rather than large masses. But how do you approach something that has completely different masses? Do you like lower the resolution, grab a big brush, and just move things around until it matches, or?
Yeah, I would say I would not start with a fairly high resolution mesh like I did with this guy. I would not high. I mean, like it's 370,000 polys, but still high. But I would go definitely like to the lowest possible resolution and just like really move stuff around, right? Like for example, we have a totally different cranium volume, and that's the thing, you know. Sometimes you can nail the likeness like within the structure, right? Like within the frame, and then something, if it's something is off with the shape of the cranium or the chin, anything that's basically the frame of the face, that's completely screwed up, and then you don't match it. So it's like you have to match the individual pieces, but you have to match the frame of the face as well. And then to work on this frame, the best way is to actually keep like low resolution for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't dare to do that if it's a completely different model.
Yeah, as I was saying, like I was working on that model and I keep looking at the proportions and I'm like, the face looks flatter. So I would just grab like the whole jaw and just push it back. And I'm like, oh, it looks like it just smashed the wall. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, and I'm going to try to bug track this symmetry that's not working, because I got it to work the other day, but I got the same problem. I mean, like there's a slight like off-center thing that happens. And then ZBrush kind of refuses to create the symmetry perfectly. But I'm going to bug track that. And I give you guys the answer on Monday. Yeah, something happened here. Would be nice if it was completely symmetrical, but at this point it's not. So,
have you tried using the Smart Symmetry?
Yeah, that's what I was using just now. But for some reason, it's kind of like it's not obeying it, you know. So, for example, if I click this guy and I just let's do just select this model. Oh, why is it okay? Turn it off. So I have, it looks like it's symmetrical. Let me turn off this one here. But if I try to run the symmetry, let's see if I try with the one side selected. Let's try with the rectangle and then turn off symmetry. Select that side, that's the one I'm working anyway. Let's try to run the symmetry like that and see if it works. Deformation is Smart ReSymmetry. Oh, that one kind of worked. Yeah. It was having trouble actually doing the resymmetry by using both sides at the same time. But this one seems like, oh, it got a little problem right here. There's a little crisscrossing right there. Crisscrossing. Right there. Yeah, here too, you got a little trouble in there. Yeah, sometimes when you have a little bit of overlap in the middle, it gets a little confused. So same thing here, look. It totally messed up the inner mouth right there.
Weird.
Yeah, but let's try again and see what it does. Yeah, see, like it's pulling to the side, which is very weird. If I try to do both at the same time, this is what happens. Look, it creates this little zigzag. But if I'm doing just one side to the other side, it seems like it's fairly okay. It's just like the middle part that's a little confused.
I may be completely wrong, but just from looking at it, I think it has to do with the groups. Smoothing groups.
With the smoothing groups?
Yeah, because all those pushing and pulling happens like right after the edge.
Yeah.
It might be totally off. But
let's try with let's see. For example, if we have polygroups, let's just like eliminate everything for now. Group visible. And let's see if it does anything different. Geometry deformation. Smart.
No, right now because it's off-centered, it's probably not going to.
Yeah, true. It's fun. Like every time I run it, it does a little bit different. But the middle here, definitely, like if I get that a little bit closer to the center, it should do better next time. But yeah, I'm gonna have to solve that problem first. But anyway, guys, sorry for I guess like yesterday the class was a little bit more exciting because you're learning different stuff. But today was a little bit repetitive. But like I said, like we're gonna hit those spots that we have to get over those humps to get to the juicy stuff. So today was one of those days, but hopefully on Monday is gonna be excited because it's gonna work on HD geometry. So sweet stuff.
Awesome, love it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great weekend, you guys. And if you can do some work, you know, it's like keep going with it, and rewatch if you need to do anything again. You know, it's like if you can start like coming up with your own models and showing, even if it's not something complete or anything, you know, it's like just for us to take a look, you know, would be great. And then the end of next week is the week we're going to be doing the reviews, right? So I'm going to send an email to set up like, let's see, like a deadline, for example, like by Friday to have the models sent to me. It can be like screenshots or it can be the model or something. And then we go over during the weekend. We can set up, you know, it's like 2 different times, like I said, so we can actually not torture everybody to wake up too early. And I can do it, for example, like in the morning here and at night here, so I can actually reach more people that way and be more democratic that way.
Do you think it'd be beneficial to maybe do a group critique?
Yeah, that's basically what's gonna happen, I think, because you guys are gonna be submitting, and I'm gonna run for about an hour. I'm gonna try to split that hour between like the number of people who actually send stuff, and that's basically what I'm gonna do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there a folder you've set up or drive that we submit stuff to?
Yeah, I have the Google Drive. When I send the email to set everything up, you guys send straight to that place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's already shared, so it's all good.
Hey, somebody was suggesting, I think it was Palomita or Carlos, having a Facebook group for
Oh, that would be nice.
the party so we can share stuff. And
Yeah, that would be super nice, actually, that we can have the next group, for example, the June class, you know, it's like we can have everybody kind of like contributing with stuff, and that would be nice. And have a hashtag. I love the hashtags that she suggested. Super funny, man. Yeah, the super long name. You know? Nobody gonna ever remember that stuff.
Yeah, man. She was crazy happy. I can tell you, she was running around the house. I'm not kidding. She's like that.
That's awesome.
By the way, today it's her birthday, you know, so
Oh yeah.
it's that's why she's not talking.
No.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We should all sing to her like a restaurant.
Yeah. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Celebrate your birthday some more, and then I see you guys next week. And of course, you're gonna be on Facebook. I'm gonna be posting memes like 500 of them per day. So.
Yeah, sure. That's why we are here.
All right, guys. See you later.
Take care, man. See everybody.
Thanks for everything, Chris.
See you.
You're welcome.
Bye.